Hello there, Jill Alexander, zooming in to see you from University of Missouri, St. Louis. Let's talk a little bit about how PR people can be creative. Can you find your inner artist? You know, back in the day when I was a PR practitioner, I had to get out my colored pencils and my crayons and my glue. I can remember vividly having to cut out news clips from the newspaper, from the actual paper, and glue little headings on them. And was it stifling? Did it stifle my creativity? Probably so. So I am thrilled that in today's world, PR people can um, keep up with media relations plans and results and social media results totally electronically. What is creativity? Does anybody know? Have you looked it up recently? Does anybody else besides me have a favorite definition of creativity? This is my favorite definition. I found this in an article by Creativity at Work, and this is really what I think of creativity. It's more than getting out my crayons. It's more than putting on my thinking cap. It's turning ideas into reality. Can you think up a possibility and it actually happen? There we go. Sorry about that. Having trouble scrolling today. Let's talk a little bit about courage. It takes courage to be creative. I find when I'm teaching that my students are so focused on wanting to come up with the idea that will make me happy or give them that A, that it stifles their ability to think beyond that A. Think, let your imagination flow, let your creative mind come up with the solution rather than writing the expected. So, for example, when I typically am teaching students, frequently I get PR tactics that are very similar to the next student or the next student or the next student. And what happens is that students are so focused on getting that A or so focused on what I might think that they don't they talk themselves out of, for lack of a better way to put it, all of their really good ideas. I hear time and time again, well, initially I thought X, but then I thought you wouldn't like it, or you would take away points, or you would not think that it was practical. Well, the reality is in PR, you have to be brave and you have to let your courage put tactics down on paper that perhaps you might question at first. This is my creative space. I doodle. I can't tell you how old I was when I started doodling. I actually have a planner called My Happy Planner, and I doodle in my planner. Typically, when I'm doodling in my planner, I'm using things like different colored pens or stickers, but my favorite place to doodle is actually on my iPad with my Apple Pencil using Adobe Fresco, which is a free software that you can find in any of the app stores. And I doodle, but I don't share my doodles. This is kind of my time, my brain space to step back and think about all the different possibilities. Squiggles are my friend. So what does it mean to brainstorm? How do you brainstorm in a group? So here's the thing about brainstorming. You have to have rules in order to brainstorm. When I am brainstorming in a group, we have 3 rules. One is that there are no wrong answers. That is the most important rule of brainstorming. And typically, I would not do brainstorming in a group of more than 10 or 15 people, because if you go much bigger than that, you could be there a really long time. Rule number 2 is that anybody can pass at any given moment. So if something hasn't popped into your brain, you can pass on to the next person. Number 3 is we do not stop brainstorming until everybody passes. So what kinds of things do you brainstorm? For me, one of the most often used times to brainstorm was when I was trying to come up with opening ideas, grand openings. In PR, 9 times out of 10, if you haven't been in charge of a grand opening, you will be at some point in your future. So there are many ribbon cuttings and groundbreaking ceremonies. And quite frankly, how boring can they be, right? If you've gone to one, you've gone to them all. Unless you have what I call the Tadaa moment. What is the Tadaa moment? The Tadaa moment is something memorable. People remember the unexpected. What can possibly happen that you can achieve that is unexpected? So perhaps it's the location is unexpected. Perhaps it is the speaker that's unexpected. Perhaps it is the food that is unexpected. But all it really takes is get out your crayons and your colored pencils and color the world with all of the different possibilities. And then you've brainstormed, you've included a Tadaa moment, and you get to develop some real situations. So let's talk about my career highlights. These are my creative highlights. When your professor invited me to talk about creativity in PR, I sat down and I developed a list of some of the grand openings that I handled or worked on that were the most memorable to me. So the very first grand opening that I truly was in charge of and had a very active role in was for Space 301 in Mobile, Alabama. Space 301 was or is, I should say, because it still exists, is a contemporary art, living art gallery. And they were taking over some space in an old building, very, very, very large space. And when I say large, I mean very, very tall ceilings, probably square footage wise. It's not oversized, but it was a very, very tall building, very, very large building. And we had to come up with some ideas for the grand opening. One of the ideas that we generated was to create our own art as the grand opening rather than cutting a ribbon. And what we decided to do, and back in 2003, this was acceptable at the time, which I don't think it would be acceptable today, is that we actually used paintball guns to create some contemporary art of our own and to commemorate the opening of Space 301. In 2007, I was faced with another unique grand opening, and it was one of the casinos that I worked for in Florida, and they literally had we're going to have 24 hours notice on when they could open. So there was not a lot of advanced planning that could happen, so to speak. So bringing in a celebrity was not necessarily going to work because we did not know exactly what day we needed somebody to be there. Same thing with a band, and the same thing with performers. So what we decided to do for that grand opening was take it up a notch at the actual ribbon cutting, and our actual ribbon that day was a lei made out of flowers. That was, quite frankly, much heavier and much more difficult to cut than you think. So it took a lot of planning to get the actual lei, as in flowers, cut in half because they were put together with wire. And then lastly, let's talk a little bit about Isle Casino Hotel Bettendorf, which is a casino in Iowa. And it was the location of the very first riverboat casino when riverboat gaming expanded beyond Las Vegas and Atlantic City. And I worked on this project in conjunction with Wonderman Thompson, who was the creative advertising firm that was developing the plan. So let's talk a little bit about brainstorming and why Vanna White's picture is here. So back in 1992, when this casino opened, Vanna White was the celebrity that was featured at the grand opening. So when we had our brainstorming session for how we were going to open a casino that literally only moved 223 feet, we threw a whole bunch of things at the wall. And one of the things that was thrown out was to bring back Vanna White. So after this meeting, the brainstorming meeting, as the PR practitioner, I was charged with figuring out if Vanna White, A, still did public appearances, B, how much it would cost, so whether or not it would fit into our budget, and C, whether or not she was available. So let's take a little look at the creative that Wonderman Thompson developed, and how we took some of the elements of the creative campaign and turned them into PR tactics.
We've moved the Isle Casino Hotel Bettendorf to create a brand new experience featuring 35,000 feet of gaming.
Take good care of her.
975 slots and a $60 million transformation. And it's all happening just 223 feet from the old riverboat. It's a little distance with a big difference. Take a little trip to see how far we've come June 24th.
Come on, Donald.
So wasn't that fun? It was a great humorous way to look at how to pack up and move a casino 223 feet. So as we were looking at all the concepts that were being developed for the Big Little Move, we had another brainstorming session, which helped us address how we were going to have a ribbon cutting. And we decided actually not to have a ribbon at all. Believe it or not, since we used the big yellow truck in many of our social media tactics in the months that the casino was being built, we decided that the big yellow truck needed to end its journey at our front door. And if you remember the chant for "Move That Bus," we had the chant "Move That Truck." In addition, we were also able to secure Vanna White. Yes, Vanna White still did personal appearances, just very few of them. So let's watch a little bit of this video.
Well, welcome to our new home. We're so excited to be here. We moved 223 feet from the river onto land, and we put the casino in the heart of our property. We already got 500 hotel rooms and 2 restaurants, soon to be 3 restaurants. So we just kind of put the jewel in the center, and we're really excited about it. The floor is a little bit bigger. We have 977 slot machines, and they're all working today. And we had about 960 in the boat, so just a few more. I'd just like to thank our 550 employees. I mean, they're tremendous. Some of them have been here 21 years, and they waited a long time. The industry's changed a lot, and it's just a wonderful relationship that they have with their customers. We moved, but we're the same people, so we're excited about that. We had a big winner just now, yeah, $10,000. So what a way to celebrate! And when Roger Craig did the first roll of the dice, he rolled a pretty long roll. So far, it really feels good.
So what were the results? What were some of the tactics that proved exceptionally helpful? So Vanna White appearing at our casino opening, believe it or not, was able to produce so much earned media, so much more than we anticipated, and so much better quality interviews than having many of the other celebrities that we brainstormed ever could have. Because, of course, one of the local stations in Iowa aired Wheel of Fortune every evening. And the news broadcast leading into that Wheel of Fortune showing featured giveaways of meet and greet tickets for people to meet Vanna personally every night for a week leading up to opening. And it culminated with a live interview on the gaming floor between Vanna and one of the local journalists. We could not have asked for that kind of coverage without um, this tactic coming to fruition. It was creative at the time. It was kind of out of the box because, quite frankly, when we started talking about it, um, we had no idea if Vanna even had a following at the time, but Vanna's following went out the door. And I can't tell you the number. There were several thousand people that came to see her. There were also several thousand people that lined up to be at the casino the day it opened. And it was a wonderful success. So I conclude by saying, get out your crayons, put on your favorite music, get together with a group of like-minded colleagues or friends or just people that you know that you think can be creative, and hold a brainstorming session the next time you're struggling to come up with some PR tactics that have a ta-da moment. Thank you for having me, and have a great day.